So Monday is here, and this is going to be a huge week in college football. With early signing day on Wednesday, this week is going to be filled with news and excitement, and I can't wait for it. But before we can fully turn our attention to recruiting, we still have more news in the transfer portal that we need to address. Today, we need to talk about two players who were in the class of 2022 and ranked as top 40 players in that class, one of which has found their destination out of the transfer portal, the other just entered. And of course, today we're talking about Aaron Anderson going from Alabama to LSU and Travis Hunter entering the transfer portal. Before we can break this down, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe Travis Hunter ends up at Colorado? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And I know this is going to sound absurd, but I want to see how close we can get to 20,000 subscribers before the new year. The support y'all have shown is unbelievable, and I think we can get close. I'd love to have you a part of this incredible community. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And we're going to start with Aaron Anderson, who makes the transfer from Alabama to rival SEC school LSU. And this is one that makes a lot of sense. Aaron Anderson played high school football in Louisiana and was the number one high school football player in the state of Louisiana, to go along with being the number 35 player in all of high school football and a top 5 wide receiver coming in at number 4. Anderson chose Alabama out of high school over LSU when LSU fired Coach O, so there's always been a personal relationship there with LSU, and it went further than him just playing in the state of Louisiana. This is going to be one we have got to watch because Aaron Anderson enrolled early at Alabama, and instantly Nick Saban had identified him and said, hey, this kid is both very talented and is working very hard. He said the same thing about Kendrick Law, who also early enrolled. Unfortunately for Aaron Anderson, the injury bug bit early, and he was put in a position where by the end of the season, when he finally got the ability to get healthy, he was looking at a room where he was one of many freshmen that were able to come in and contribute instantly. The unfortunate part is the other freshmen did not get hurt. So that put him behind the curve, and I don't think many people were surprised to see him hit the transfer portal, but nonetheless, it still stung Alabama fans because there was so much excitement as to how talented he is and to how he was going to be able to utilize that talent to help the Crimson Tide. Now that's not going to be the case, but there's no question here. LSU got a really talented player. I'm intrigued to see what he's going to be able to do for the Tigers, and if you're an LSU Tigers fan, you have to be very excited. Brian Kelly's first year in the SEC outside of the Texas A&M game went about as well as anybody could have predicted. The Texas A&M game is one that every LSU fan undoubtedly wants to forget, and deservedly so, but outside of that, LSU had a really good year. They currently sit with the number 5 recruiting class, and Aaron Anderson is going to be added into a very talented group of wide receivers that LSU has in this current recruiting class, including Shelton Sampson, Jalen Brown, and Kyle Parker. So LSU is a team we absolutely have to watch, especially after Brian Kelly's first year, and Louisiana is an incredibly talent-rich state. And if Brian Kelly can lock down his own state, well, LSU is no doubt a team to watch. But there isn't an underscore as to what a big win this is for the Tigers. And for the Crimson Tide, what do you need to worry about in that slot wide receiver position? Well, as much as you would have loved to have kept Anderson, I don't think there is a worry at that slot wide receiver position because of the existence of Kobe Prentice, Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Law. All were guys who were freshmen and contributed and showed you need to be excited about their future. But now we need to make the transition from talking about Aaron Anderson making the move from Alabama to LSU to talking about the number 1 player in the class of 2022, Travis Hunter, who has now officially entered the transfer portal, which is what so many people around college football were waiting for. And now that it's happened, the question that is on everyone's mind: will he follow Coach Prime to Colorado? And I've already given my opinion on this. We've talked about this before, but we're going to talk about it again. I believe he will, and there are several different reasons why. First and foremost, Travis Hunter committed to the individual over the institution coming out of high school. What I mean when I say that is Travis Hunter was a longtime Florida State commit. He's from the state of Georgia. The Georgia Bulldogs wanted him, and so too did the Alabama Crimson Tide. By choosing Coach Prime, he was putting faith in Coach Prime to develop him. Why? Very simple. Coach Prime is one of the greatest athletes who's ever lived. Coach Prime is the greatest cornerback that's ever played in the NFL, and not only that, but he did play in the NFL both on offense and defense. If we look at Travis Hunter, he's made an impact all throughout his career, both offensively and defensively, and I have news for everybody. If he would have decided on the last day of that recruiting cycle that he no longer wanted to be a cornerback and wanted to be a wide receiver, he still would have been the number one player in the nation and the number one wide receiver in the nation. He is a generational talent. So I think going with Coach Prime makes sense, but the reason why I think he will go with Coach Prime again is by putting faith in the individual. You know what institutions such as Alabama and Georgia can do for you. They get in 5 stars and they turn them into first-round draft picks like it's going out of style. If you don't believe me, go look at the rate of development at those 2 institutions compared to everywhere else in the nation. It's a little bit wild. So as a 5-star, you know what they can do for you. And especially if you're from the state of Georgia, you're very aware of what they can do for you. But instead, Travis Hunter put faith in the individual over the institution. Now that the individual has gone from Jackson State to Boulder, I'm likely to believe that Travis Hunter will probably end up in Boulder. The second reason is because when Coach Prime was doing a live stream, he said he thought Travis Hunter would end up at Colorado. And the third reason is that when Travis Hunter did a live stream and was watching Coach Prime introduce himself to the locker room, he made comments that would indicate that he was going to go to Colorado. And finally, the relationship Travis Hunter has with Coach Prime's sons, which is well documented, and they are very close. So this is one we have to watch, but we also have to do the job holistically. And we have to understand that there are going to be many suitors after Travis Hunter, and Colorado's not going to be the only one. So if not Colorado, who? Well, one of the obvious answers would be Florida State because he was committed there for so long. But another answer is Georgia. He's from the state of Georgia. He was the number 1 player in the state of Georgia. And the Georgia Bulldogs have a pitch that is next to impossible to argue with. It's going to be very interesting to watch what happens with Travis Hunter, where he ends up going. He did some interviews saying that he was going to take his time, really figure out where was a fit to him, and that he understands that most people expect him to end up at Colorado with Coach Prime, but he wants to make sure he's a fit. Personally, I think if he was a fit with Coach Prime at Jackson State, then he's going to be a fit with Coach Prime at Colorado, but we also need to understand Travis Hunter needs to go through the process and make the best decision for him, and at the end of the day, he's going to be an incredible football player wherever he goes. I just can't wait to see where that is, but like I've said and maintained, I do believe he will end up at Colorado, but we have to be thorough when talking about recruiting, because we all know recruiting changes at the drop of a hat, and we need to make sure we understand all the players involved. So with that being said, hop down to the comments, let me know where you think Travis Hunter goes, and let me know what you're thinking before we get into the early signing day content on Wednesday. That's it. See you.